Hello and welcome to First Team All Vibes, your favorite sports podcast with all of the best vibes. My name is Marissa. I am the vibe connoisseur around here, and I am here with another episode, guys. And fun fact, actually not so fun fact, this is actually the second time that I'm having to record this episode. Me and Anthony actually both recorded this episode together, but unfortunately it is basically completely unusable because the footage is completely out of focus, guys. It's so bad, it's actually tragic. So I am here re-recording this episode by myself, but we will be back together next week again. We talked about so much good stuff. I just could not skip this episode. So I am here and we are ready to go, guys. We are going to lock in to all of the fun stuff that's been going on because there is a lot to discuss. Before I get into it all, please do subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, do a comment, do all the stuff. You know what to do, and it makes a really, really big difference for us. So please do that. And also you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at First Team All Vibes. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, First Team All Vibes everywhere. So just getting that out of the way, let's dive into the juicy topics that we have for today. So I want to start with some NBA drama that's been brewing, guys. Yeah, the drama is hot, the tea is piping. And that drama is mainly coming from one Rich Paul. Now, Rich Paul, for those of you guys who don't know, he has a podcast. It's called Game Over, and he does it with Max Kellerman, who is basically, pretty well-known sports analyst / journalist. I believe he was on First Take for a while. He has had a bunch of radio shows. He's a pretty well-known sports journalist. So he started this podcast with Rich Paul. And basically, since the beginning of this podcast, there has been a lot of controversy about some of the comments that Rich Paul has made. If you guys don't know, Rich Paul is a very famous agent, okay? He has several clients in the NBA, and his most notable client is one Lebron James. That is basically how Rich Paul became so famous, so powerful, so influential as an agent. He owns Clutch Sports, and he's literally LeBron James' agent, okay? Among many others in the league, and not even just in the NBA. I found out he also has NFL clients, and he's like Shams Charania's agent. So I guess he has other clients beyond even just athletes. So needless to say, this is a very, very powerful agent in this industry, right? So like I said, since the beginning, he's been making some very controversial comments, and most of those comments have been about the Lakers. Now, obviously, LeBron James is currently on the Lakers, and so you can see where this starts to get a little bit messy. Now, the first comments that Rich Paul made were basically just him saying that he didn't think that the Lakers were championship contenders. He said this a few months ago, kind of towards the beginning of the season, and this caused a little bit of ruckus, but I don't think it was that big of a deal. Maybe that ruffled a few feathers. Maybe you shouldn't necessarily be saying that about, again, the team that your best client is currently on. And actually, at the time that he said this, I don't even think LeBron had played yet. So that's kind of crazy to say considering, his client was injured at the time. But again, that was just the beginning, okay? So first he says that they weren't championship contenders. But then he started targeting a lot of comments specifically towards Austin Reaves, who obviously plays for the Lakers and has been having this huge breakout season. So the first thing that Rich Paul says about Austin Reaves is he says that he should not be getting paid anything crazy. Okay, Austin Reaves somehow gets brought up. Obviously, Austin Reaves has been having a career year, was literally playing at an all-star, all-NBA level before he recently got hurt and has been out for about a month. But he was playing amazing, doing an incredible job, and basically had taken over that kind of second option from LeBron James, okay, because he was playing at that high of a level. Now, Austin Reaves is also in a contract year this year, okay, so he's going to be a free agent in the summer, and so he is going to be due for a massive payday, and that's likely going to come from the Lakers, and if it doesn't, it's going to come from another team. He is going to likely get maxed out. He's not eligible for the full, super max, but he is probably going to get his max, which I believe with the Lakers is $42 million, so it's going to be somewhere in that range because, quite frankly, he has earned it, and they've been really feeling his absence, which just shows again how valuable he is to this team. So basically, we have Rich Paul who said they shouldn't pay Austin anything crazy. He basically implies that, Austin should stay with Luka because that's a better thing for him, and he could probably get paid more somewhere else, but he should probably just stay with the Lakers as long as they don't pay him anything crazy. Which right off the bat already is obviously problematic because you are an agent talking about another player on, a public platform, basically saying that he shouldn't get paid, which, I mean, that alone is crazy, right? But that was only the first thing that he said. The next thing that he said in another episode was that they were saying that Austin Reaves should be brought off the bench, okay? They were basically saying, Max Kellerman, again, was kind of the one that brought this up, but Rich Paul just immediately feeds into it, right? And they were saying that, Austin Reaves should come off the bench in a kind of Manu Ginobili type role, like from the old school Spurs, and that would be better suited for the team and for him. Now, again, the issue with this is, well, one, I mean, if you really think about this Lakers team, it's nothing like that Spurs team, and it would not have that same effect. And they cannot do that with Austin Reaves. Like, he's just way too talented. And again, he's in a contract year. They're not going to start bringing him off the bench. That just makes no sense. And I mean, honestly, if you're making that argument, you could really make that exact same argument for LeBron James. But of course, they would never make that argument for LeBron James because Rich Paul is LeBron James' agent. And I guarantee you, if he represented Austin Reaves, he would not be making these comments either, okay? But the real kicker and the real kind of drama that is now being stirred up is because they also, in a recent episode, were talking about trading Austin Reaves. And specifically, they made this trade suggestion that he should be traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, a lot of people have pushed back on this trade as it is, like, even besides the merits of, like, should, Rich Paul even be discussing about trading players as an agent, which we're going to get into in a second. Just the trade idea alone is objectively kind of bad, and most people seem to agree about that. Obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr., he is a former Defensive Player of the Year, which we all know the Lakers desperately need defense, but most people and also most metrics will show you that he has fallen off a bit defensively, and he's still young, so you could say that he has a higher ceiling maybe beyond what he's showing now, but he's kind of trending downwards while Austin Reaves is very obviously trending upwards. They average about the same amount of rebounds, and there's just so much that Austin Reaves can do that Jaren Jackson Jr. just cannot. And I would argue that, like, as a big, he's not even that great of a fit with Luka. And so I just don't get it. I personally do not get it at all. And I don't think that he's necessarily worth the contract that the Lakers would have to be paying. And again, I'm not the only one that thinks, like, really? That's what you're suggesting? Like, if the Lakers were really to trade Austin Reaves, they're trying to get somebody that would be a massive improvement and a second star alongside Luka. And I just don't see Jaren Jackson Jr. as that, honestly, at all. Okay? But even that being said, the bigger kind of issue here, and the thing that's really kind of causing more drama, is the fact that a lot of people feel, honestly myself included, that Rich Paul really should not be talking about these things regardless. Whether it's a good trade idea or a bad trade idea, the fact that he is putting his best client, okay, his most famous, most notable client, his team, his teammates in trade scenarios is just ridiculous and probably very much, I mean, I personally think that it's very unprofessional and that it's out of line. We all know, yeah, like Rich Paul is kind of in a different, I guess you could say, sphere as far as public influence / fame than a lot of other agents. Yeah, there's a lot of other powerful agents, but they don't necessarily have that same level of fame that Rich Paul has. One, because he is LeBron James' agent and he's kind of made it that way, but also because, he's married to Adele. He's kind of more ingrained himself in like that kind of celebrity-esque role. And so it's not the same. First of all, it's not the same as another agent saying it because Rich Paul has so much of a louder platform and he knows that, by the way. And also, other agents are not going around talking about these things publicly, not about their own clients, and definitely they are not saying these things publicly about other people's clients, right? Like, this would be like Luka Doncic's agent getting on a podcast and saying, I think we should trade LeBron James. I think we should trade LeBron James for Jaren Jackson Jr., right? This is like Austin Reaves' agent getting on a podcast on, again, not just like tweeting this, not just like saying this in passing or in private. No, getting on a public platform, posting this on YouTube, explicitly talking about this and saying, I think we should trade LeBron James, right? That would be immediately interpreted negatively. People would be extremely upset about that. And, for good reason, people are upset about Rich Paul doing this. And a big part of this is that a lot of people are kind of wondering if, Rich Paul is speaking on behalf of LeBron when he's talking about this, right? Like, we all know, I mean, most people know at least, that Rich Paul often speaks for LeBron. Throughout his career, it's been very well known that, the whole like Le GM thing, right? Like, that LeBron and Clutch and Rich Paul kind of have this pull on the teams that he's on where they're able to kind of make things happen and they have this sort of level of influence, right? And not just that, but Rich Paul does speak for LeBron all the time. Like during the summer, there was this whole thing where, LeBron was saying, well, we're going to be keeping a watchful eye, or not LeBron, well, LeBron through Rich Paul was saying that, we're going to be keeping a watchful eye on the Lakers. And, LeBron really wants to contend for another championship. And so if the Lakers are not going to put him in that position, he understands they're building around Luka. So he's going to be basically watching out for that, right? And so Rich Paul is all the time speaking on behalf of LeBron. He's all the time representing LeBron because he's literally representing him. He is his agent. And so naturally, people heard all of these comments from Rich Paul kind of culminated with this trade scenario. And it was just kind of this point where it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, is this LeBron that thinks this? Is this LeBron that thinks Austin shouldn't get paid and that he should be coming off the bench and that he should be traded? And this basically forced Braun into a position where he was actually forced to confront it. He was asked about it by Dave McMenamin, and this is what LeBron said, okay, in response to, all these comments made by Rich Paul. He said, AR knows how I feel about him. All you gotta do is look at us on the bench. Me and AR talk every single day. So AR knows how I feel about him, and I hope AR or his camp don't look at me and think this is words coming from me through Rich. Rich has his perspective of what he sees. I have my perspective. I'm a grown man. He's a grown man. And I think people should realize that grown men can say whatever the F they want, and it shouldn't reflect that somebody else is saying it. Okay? So that's what he said. Obviously, very much denying that he was in fact speaking through Rich Paul, very much denying that he has any ill intentions towards Austin Reaves, which, me and Anthony were talking about it when we recorded this episode originally. And, I think that Anthony definitely really thought and really thinks that LeBron probably does think this. And he was saying that he thinks they're going to trade Austin Reaves. Because again, like we've seen this story play out, right? We've seen the influence that Rich Paul and LeBron have on these organizations. In my opinion, I feel like there's absolutely no chance that the Lakers trade Austin Reaves, especially this season. Okay, I mean, maybe I could maybe see them potentially trading him for like Giannis in the offseason or maybe next season or a player of that caliber, because that is what they've routinely kind of leaked and what all of the sources have said. Like I literally saw a report the other day that they will not trade Austin for anyone who's not Giannis or Jokic. And I honestly kind of believe it. Like I think that they realize AR can be the number 2 behind Luka. If they are not getting someone that's going to be better than him to be that number 2, then why would they trade him? Like Austin does so much for that team, so many things that people do not like think about that are not watching those games every day, that it does not make sense to me why they would trade him for just some like random piece that's not going to be as impactful. But besides that, like besides it just not making sense like logistically, Austin is not on a good contract to be traded right now. He's on a very team-friendly contract, which is great for the Lakers. But if they were to trade him right now, I think this year he's making like $15 million. You are not getting equal value in return for Austin Reaves. Like if they were to try to trade him for Jaren Jackson Jr. right now, they would have to attach more players, right? Like the Lakers already have a depth issue. So now you're talking about trading Austin Reaves and a couple of other players to get back one player in return that is not as good as Austin Reaves. Right? Like, again, unless you are doing a Giannis trade, that does not make sense. And even then, really, best case scenario, you would re-sign Austin Reaves for a number of value, what he is actually worth in the summer, and then do a sign-in trade. And, every single person that, like, talks about the Lakers, like, all these Lakers journalists have said this. And so, to me, it does not make sense to think that they would trade him, okay? But what does make sense to me is that I think, this is just my opinion, my perspective on the situation. Obviously, I do not know these people. I have no personal insight or, insider knowledge of this. But based on everything that I've heard, based on what I could put together, I actually believe that LeBron does not want Austin traded. I genuinely think that he probably doesn't really care as much as Rich Paul does. But what I do think is that Rich Paul knows that Austin and LeBron are low key in competition for a contract in the summer with the Lakers. They cannot sign LeBron to another max and max out Austin. Obviously, Luka's staying on a max. So what are they going to do? I do not think that they are going to choose LeBron, who is 41, going to be going on 42, over 27-year-old Austin Reaves, who is only a year older than Luka and clearly fits his timeline literally in his prime, right? Both of them in their prime. So I feel like what I think is that Rich Paul knows that, and that, maybe he's trying to kind of like throw some things out there to try to maybe lower Austin Reaves' value, right? Don't pay him anything crazy, right? Like, bring him off the bench, lower his value a little bit, send him to another team. I think Austin Reaves should go to another team. All of these subtle comments, because I think that he knows if they max out Austin, LeBron is not going to probably be there, because the only way that LeBron could be there is if he agrees to a lower number. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. And by the way, after that episode went completely viral and everyone was all upset about it, and, it's been in all of the media, Austin Reaves' agent literally flew from New York to confront Rich Paul at the Lakers-Hawks game, and he confronted him in halftime, and apparently they had a heated little exchange. So it literally got to that level where Austin Reaves' agent had to go and confront him, and I'm not surprised. If I was Austin Reaves' agent, I would be doing the exact same thing. And who knows if Austin Reaves cares, right? Who knows if there's drama between him and LeBron now? I mean, I would probably still be upset, even if it's like, well, we're cool, bro. Why is your agent talking about me on every episode in a negative light? Why is your agent constantly trying to sabotage me? Because yes, they're separate people and they don't necessarily share the same perspectives on everything and always have the same, intentions, I guess you could say. But I personally believe that LeBron could tell him, hey, tone it down. Do not be saying all that. And arguably, maybe he's not doing that, right? So if I'm Austin Reaves, I'm probably a little bit upset about that. And I'm probably upset, like, dude, my agent is not out here talking about you. So why is your agent out here talking about me, right? So honestly, I was kind of glad to see that Austin Reaves' agent stood up for him and told Rich Paul something. And, Rich Paul kind of backtracked in the next episode and was like, look, I love Austin Reaves. I wasn't trying to talk negatively about Austin Reaves. And then him and Max Kellerman start to say, well, actually, maybe they should trade Luka, because you could get X for Austin and you could get 3X for Luka. Which again, to me, is just like, are we actually kidding me right now? So now we're saying that they have to trade Austin, or they have to trade Luka, or they should, but they shouldn't get off of 41-year-old LeBron. It just makes no sense to me, and it seems very obvious to me that that's more the narrative there, that's kind of more like the, background motive behind these comments of Rich Paul's. So that's just my opinion on that, but I wanted to go through that because that has been one of the biggest controversies that's been going on this week. And that's just my opinion on it, guys. Like I said, Anthony believes that they're probably going to get what they want, that LeBron probably does think this. And we were kind of going back and forth when we originally recorded this, but that's just my opinion on this. And like I said, a lot of people do believe that he speaks for LeBron because, again, he traditionally has. So you guys let me know what you guys think about that, but that's just my opinion on that. Now, moving on past that little drama bit, I want to get into some of the other updates around the league. So first of all, OKC finally beat the Spurs. After going 3-0 against them, they finally beat them on their fourth try. J-Dub is now out indefinitely. Apparently he has a hamstring sprain. I don't think that they've announced how bad it is. I saw some doctors and some people saying that it's probably at least a grade 2 strain because of the way that he reacted and how he had to walk out immediately. People were saying it wouldn't have been that bad. He wouldn't have felt it that dramatically if it was just a grade 1 strain. And so if it is a grade 2 strain, that's obviously probably going to be at least a month that he's out. And a lot of people think that they're better without J-Dub, and their record kind of shows that over this season. But, I don't think that they're necessarily better without J-Dub, honestly. I just think that, J-Dub went through a surgery in the offseason on his shooting hand, and he had to literally learn not only just ease back in from injury after not playing for literally months and months and months, but also had to retrain his wrist, had to kind of learn how to shoot again. And, now dealing with another injury, it's just I feel for him. I genuinely feel for him. And I kind of feel bad that so many people are kicking him off this team, right? But that being said, I mean, they are winning again and they have looked good. But, I think that there is kind of maybe a question of have they exposed some cracks? Right? Obviously, this is still an elite team. Shea has been playing much better since their little, slip that they went through where they lost a couple games. A big reason for that, I think, is that Shea was not playing as good as he had previously. He wasn't playing as efficiently. The other guys couldn't knock down shots, and they just could not keep up offensively with some of these other teams, right? When they went through that, mini, losing streak. So we'll see what happens with the rest of their season. I think they're definitely going to keep the 1 seed. I have no doubt about that. But I do think that some teams are starting to figure them out, and I'm curious to see how their other matchups as the second half of the season unfolds goes with these other top teams. Now, I want to talk about the Nuggets, guys, because the Nuggets are winning without Jokic, and it's so funny because, I remember when Jokic got injured, I told Anthony, and, we talked on the podcast, I said, I think the Nuggets are going to lose some games. I think they're going to slip a little bit, and they might end up, at the 6th seed or something when Jokic comes back. Anthony told me that he didn't think that was going to happen. And he was apparently right because the Nuggets have been looking really good. Jamal Murray has fully stepped up. I definitely think he's going to be a first-time All-Star this year. And, they're finally getting some of their guys back. They finally have Aaron Gordon back. They're still down, I think, 3 starters, which is just crazy that they're playing so well. But I guess that just shows you how well they have built out the depth of that team because I know that was, one of their major focuses in the offseason. And, I mean, it's showing. They lost to the Lakers the other day. But, they're still playing really good basketball, and we'll see what happens. We'll see when Jokic is able to actually come back. But, I mean, as of right now, this first half of the stretch without Jokic, they've been looking really good. So, definitely got to give praise to the Nuggets in the absence of Nikola Jokic. And speaking of the Lakers, guys, the Lakers are confusing. That is what I have here, and that is kind of what I want to talk about. I feel like I don't know, as a Lakers fan, where to stand on the Lakers because they genuinely, I feel like, paints the perfect picture of where the Lakers are at. They get blown out by the Kings on one side of a back-to-back, and then on the other side of the back-to-back, they blow out the Hawks. Next back-to-back, they get blown out by Charlotte. The day after, blow out Toronto. Okay? So that is a perfect encapsulation of how the Lakers have been looking lately. It is just whiplash, back and forth. One day they cannot make a shot and they look kind of abysmal, and it's so obvious that oh my god, can anybody else make a shot other than Luka and LeBron? Because obviously Austin is injured right now. And I kind of feel I was just starting to feel they just need Austin back. The cracks without him are just so painfully obvious that it's just getting to the point where it's I don't know how much they're going to be able to stay afloat without Austin. And they've been looking a little bit better lately. Since that Raptors game, they beat, like I said, they beat the Nuggets. And I think that Luka has just been playing elite for the last maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. And so that's been a major help because obviously if Luka can be playing at MVP level, that just, he literally carries the team on his back, and that does them a lot of favors, needless to say, right? And LeBron has been playing way better since the start of the new year. I mean, he has looked way better than he did previously. And, there's been some games where he's carrying the team. But he's been a little bit inconsistent. I think that this last game, the Nuggets game, he was good, but he wasn't elite. And, they had a game against Portland where he was the number 1 option. Didn't look great. They ended up losing that game. I think also getting blown out because that's just the only way the Lakers are capable of losing this year. But LeBron has looked much better off overall. But I think that the big thing with the Lakers too is they really need Austin back. And fortunately, JJ recently announced, their coach, JJ Redick, he announced that Austin Reaves is supposed to come back sometime during this road trip that they're on. They're on the second game right now today of an 8-game road trip. So essentially sometime within the next like week or so, they should be getting Austin Reaves back, which will be absolutely massive for this team because I think LeBron and Luka are exhausted, honestly, from having to carry the offense, especially Luka. Like, he has been banged up. He's been playing through multiple injuries. Like, he did have to sit out a game, that Portland game, because of a groin injury that he's been kind of struggling with. But, I think that he knows, like, I cannot afford to sit games. They are one game out of the play-in right now. Like, they're the 6th seed right now. And yeah, like the West is literally like one game, half a game, whatever, like marginal points between all these teams. But I mean, that's all it takes, right? Like one loss and you fall. So I think that he knows like until Austin is back and like good, he cannot afford to just be sitting games. And so that's going to be major for the Lakers once he comes back. He's probably, he's going to be on a minutes restriction when he comes back. He's going to have to amp himself up, but I am hoping that he comes back next week because the Lakers kind of have an easy stretch. They have a couple of decently easy Eastern teams. Like they play like the Wizards, they play the Cavs, they play the Nets. And then I think they finished that off playing the Knicks, which it's like, the Cavs and the Knicks obviously are not bad teams. But the Cavs have not been as good this year. I think that's a winnable game for them. And the Knicks have been kind of in a downward spiral. So I think that week would be a good week for Austin to kind of be able to ramp up, right? With some of those like easier games where they don't necessarily need him to be really good. Because after that, the week after that, like they have some more difficult games. And they end like right before All-Star break with a back-to-back with the Spurs and OKC. So if they can get Austin back to full strength and full minutes by then, I think that would do wonders for this Lakers team. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think that it's like hard because it's really just like, are the role players going to play good or not? They have the 30th ranked bench right now. So, most of the time they're clearly not. And without Austin, like without the three of the big three, arguably their second best player right now, it's tough for them to be able to beat teams. So we'll see what happens. I am encouraged by how Luka and LeBron are looking. And if Austin can come back and, get himself warmed up pretty quickly, or at least like, decently quickly, then, that could really change some things around for the Lakers. So we'll see what happens with them. The Rockets have been going through a little bit of a difficult stretch, but they're still 5th in the West. They've lost some questionable games, but they've won some good games. They just beat the Spurs the other day. Minnesota has been playing really well. They were 4th the last time I checked. I don't even know because, like I said, the freaking standings are all over the place in the Western Conference. But they have been playing really, really well. Obviously, they beat OKC. Ant has been on one. I think they lost to the Spurs the other day, but Ant had like 55. I mean, he has been playing really, really well and kind of taking that leap that I think people have been hoping for him to take. They probably still need a point guard, and if they can manage to do that, I mean, they could be legitimately really, really scary. So we'll see what happens with Minnesota. The Warriors, guys. Let's talk about them because Jimmy Butler, so sad. I actually feel so bad for him because I like Jimmy Butler. And, I like Steph Curry. I like the Warriors. And I genuinely feel so bad for Jimmy and Steph. But yeah, Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. He is not going to be coming back this season. Might end up missing some of next season, and he's 36, so it's like, we'll see how quickly he's able to recover from this, but obviously devastating injury for the Golden State Warriors. Steph has been already having to kind of carry the team, but when they're without Jimmy, like those games that he's had to play without Jimmy, they have like a much, much higher losing percentage. So we'll see what happens with them. Are they fully cooked? Do they make another trade? Will they trade Jimmy? Are they still going to trade Kuminga? Like that situation's all messed up now because Kuminga demanded a trade, but then the Warriors GM came out and said, well, for you to make a demand, there has to be demand, basically implying that nobody wants Kuminga, or I guess that they're not going to get a package that they deem good enough. And, now there's a hole in that position that Jimmy plays. And so theoretically, Kuminga can fill that hole. I think he's already been playing and, he's done pretty well, honestly. He's been playing pretty well, but we all know it's a mess. Kerr does not like him. It's not a good situation. It's very dysfunctional to say the least. So I'm hoping they still trade Kuminga, like free Kuminga. We'll see what the Warriors are able to work out. But I saw something interesting actually, and I think this kind of plays into what we were talking about with LeBron, because that's a whole other thing, by the way. Huge scandal came out with Jeanie Buss. They did like a bombshell like article about her and how she supposedly has had all this resentment towards LeBron for a while and has been like begrudgingly extending him for years. And funnily enough, the first year they get Luka, he doesn't get an extension. So there could be some truth to that. But if LeBron plays another season and he's not with the Lakers, could he go to the Warriors? A lot of people have been talking about that. Could he finally team up with Steph? I think that would be fun. Do I know if they would be able to make a lot of noise? I don't know. I'm not completely convinced. Obviously, like both of them getting older and dealing with various injuries, like we'll see, but that could be fun at least to witness. So we'll see what happens with the Warriors. And in the East, just kind of quickly going through them, they're pretty much in the same situation that we were, I guess, last time we talked. The Pistons are still on top. They're now 6 games ahead of the Celtics, might be 7 now. They've been playing really, really well, and they just beat them head to head the other day, the Celtics. But the Celtics are still holding on to that number 2 spot, so I think that they're basically secured, especially with the Knicks now kind of spiraling, that they are definitely the second best team in the East, which is just crazy, guys. Like, I truly did not even think that they were going to be like in the playoffs. I thought they would maybe make the play-in. So just so unexpected. Jaylen Brown has been carrying them. Like, Joe Mazzulla is crazy, and he will not let them tank or be bad. So good for them. But the Knicks, like I said, they have been spiraling. They lost 9 of their last 11, guys. They got blown out by the Mavs in Madison Square Garden a few days ago, okay? And I think they did win the other day. They blew out, like, somebody. I don't even know. Forgot who it was. But, like, it's not been looking good. And it's just so obvious. Like, they need to do something. I don't know if that's get a new coach. I don't know if that's get rid of Cat. I don't know if they need to get Giannis. I mean, really, they should probably do that. Like, high-key, they should probably trade Cat for Giannis and just you go all in. Like, go all in and take advantage. And we all know Giannis has been allegedly wanting to go to the Knicks. So that makes perfect sense to me, but we'll see what happens with that. But they had a players-only meeting, and apparently, Jalen Brunson called that, and that's like what kind of gave them that boost to win by double digits. I don't know why. I don't even know who it was. Maybe I think it was the Nets. I think it was the Nets that they beat by like literally 50 or 60. It was something crazy. It was like the highest win margin in franchise history. So we'll see. Maybe they go on a little bit of a winning streak. But I still think that they definitely need to do something. And finally, guys, I just want to go briefly through my All-Star reactions. Next week, I think that we're going to go through our All-Star reserve predictions. We actually did them already when we recorded this episode, but I want to wait so Anthony can give his too, and we'll kind of go through our All-Star reserve predictions again. But they did announce the starters, and they are as follows. In the West, we have Jokic, Luka, SGA, Steph, and Wemby. And in the East, we had Giannis, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, and Cade Cunningham. I think that this is pretty much what I personally expected. Honestly, I'm not really surprised by any of these. I think a lot of people felt like Anthony Edwards was snubbed in the West, and I mean, you could definitely make that argument. Like, when me and Anthony talked about it, we were kind of saying, like, you could really probably trade Anthony Edwards for Steph or Wemby, and you could probably say that that's fair. Obviously, I think the thing with Steph, I mean, he got way more fan votes than Ant, and I think that's what it ultimately came down to, and so did Wemby. Like, I think Wemby and Ant were actually tied. They had the same, like, overall points when they counted, like, the fan, player, and media vote. But they did the tiebreaker by the fan voting. And so that's how Wemby ended up getting that last spot. But, obviously Ant has played way more games than Wemby. And, when you compare him to Steph, like, his team's in a much better position. So I do kind of feel bad for Ant. He will end up starting on one of the USA teams because there's going to be 2. But he's not going to get that All-Star starter recognition. And, that sucks. But we all know he's still going to be an All-Star. He's still going to be in the game. And more than likely will probably be a starter next year. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. Hopefully all of those players stay healthy, because that's going to be the other thing when it comes to these all-star things. Will Jokic be able to even play? We'll see what happens with that. Obviously he's injured right now. But like I said, next week we'll talk about our reserve predictions and who we think will get in. It's very complicated to predict because of the whole USA World thing and how that has to like shake up. And then when you factor in East and West, like So weird. But the coaches already did their voting, and they're the ones that select the reserves. So we'll see what happens. Supposedly they're going to be announced on February 1st. So we should have our reserve predictions up before that. So you guys can look forward to that. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will wrap it up there. But just wanted to kind of talk about everything that's been going on, guys. All the drama, all the tea. I mean, honestly, I could get into more stuff. There's just so much to talk about. But I just wanted to at least go through these things that we talked about in the episode that we had already recorded, because crazy stuff, guys. Like, that Rich Paul stuff is just wild. But thank you guys so much for watching. We really, really appreciate your support. Again, please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Like, do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you not agree? Even if you don't, please share your opinion. I would love to hear it. Like the video if you enjoyed. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at First Team All Vibes. If you prefer to listen to us, you can do that too on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And yeah, make sure you keep tuned because we release a new episode every week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!